Those are the facts. That takes us to our next item, which is actions necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. We have one item that needs a motion. That's item 2A, selected employment items. We have a motion. Mr. Halterwonker.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the selected employment items found in Exhibit A.
We have a second. Ms. Hammond seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. That brings us to item number 14, which is Vision 2020, the proposal to add the new wing at Chapin Middle School, District 5 of Lexington and Richland counties. Is there going to be, no, sir, we've already had public participation. We have actually passed that part of the program, but I'm going to allow you to come speak. Why don't you come speak? Okay. Okay. Will you, when you get to the microphone, state your name, please, for us and where you live?
My name is Dr. Glover Hobson, former educator at USC and Benedict College. I live at 13 Brittany Way in Lexington, District 5. I moved there when it was just Lexington 5. I've been volunteering at Nursery Road Elementary School to read to the kindergarten class, Miss Katie Jones's class, for 5 years. My grandson started school there, and I've been reading to her class for 5 years. He's in 4th grade now, and I'm reading to that class Thursday morning. While going to Nursery Road Elementary School, I saw that in his 4th grade class that is a large class. I understand that you hired a new teacher. I just learned 2 hours ago, but I came here anyway because I think it's important that we have adequate classroom size in terms of teacher-student assignments in every classroom. I don't know how many students are in each classroom in the 4th grade, but I thank you for hiring another teacher. I wonder why you didn't do that at the beginning of the year, though, because that size was there then. I might be incorrect, but I was told by the principal that you approved that another teacher be hired at that school. My question to you is that, what is your policy regarding student-teacher assignment and classroom size? How many students in a classroom? Number one. Or should I address that at the school level? Second, is it the district policy to group kids in classroom according to their abilities? I was on the school board in Westchester County, New York, several years ago, and we had a grouping up there, and that's one reason I got on the school board. My daughter, who graduated from Irma High School before Dutch Fork was built, the last year, the big class, she was a middle school student in Westchester County at that time. So I'm wondering, why is there grouping? Is that grouping in this district, grouping in classroom?
Dr. Glover, we'll be glad to answer those questions. I don't want to answer it off the top of my head. There's in both of your questions, but if you jot them down just on a piece of paper when you finish and you're about out of time, if you'll jot them down, we'd be glad to get you an answer. Sounds like part of your concern's been addressed with adding a teacher, and there's a process that the personnel department goes through, but we do address the growth. We've had growth in schools, people show up. You know that from your background, how that happens, but be glad to answer those if you'd please put them in writing.
Okay, and
I'll
make sure I do the right, go by protocol at Irma Middle School next month. I'll be there.
Thank you, Dr. Glover. I've lost track a little bit. I think we had a motion and a second on our personnel items, but we didn't vote.
Yeah, we did vote.
You did vote? All right. I did lose track. Okay. All right, now we're on item 14, which is our Vision 2020. Are we going to have any kind of presentation on that? Do you want a motion first?
However you wish. Well, why don't we do a presentation? I want to do the presentation.
I
If it's
think
all right.
that'd be good.
Is it going to flash up on the screen? And will it come up here too, will it come up on their laptops? All right, members of the board, at your last meeting 2 weeks ago, I presented to you Vision 2020, and at that time I indicated what the next step would be, and I'm coming back with that step as I indicated to you on September 12th that I would do. So Vision 2020 is really our facilities plan, and as we had specified in my goals for this year, that I would bring to you a facilities plan. Is it not going to work here? All right, there we go. And a facilities plan identifies, it's more than just brick and mortar, but it identifies improvements and reinvestments needed in our existing physical plant, proposes construction of additional schools and facilities as needed. Number 3, promotes the viability and marketability of every school within the system. And number 4, ensures that infrastructure that enables the district to plan for and to effectively execute those plans to help meet the district's ever-changing needs. Our increase in student enrollment is on a steep trajectory of growth. I think the facts speak for themselves here. This is the 135th day average daily membership chart going back to 1990. And you can see that through about 2004 or 5, there was a steep trajectory that continued for many years. And then about 2007, it leveled off with some years we grew, some years we declined, and it would be what I would call a flat enrollment during that period of time. But if you look at the last 3 years, you see that trajectory, that the chart has once again turned north. Now, here are just a couple of data points that illustrate this. From the 10th day of 15-16 to day 10 of 16-17, we grew a total of 301 students. And when you look at the past 3 years using day 10 numbers, we've grown 581 students. Now, from day 10 of this year to day 25 of this year, we grew an additional 25 students, meaning that for the past 3 years and 3 weeks, we have grown a total of 606 students. Now, to address our needs related to growth and enrollment and ensuring the continued viability of the existing components of our physical plant, I made 5 recommendations 2 weeks ago. And the first recommendation was that we add a 3rd wing to Chapin Middle School. Now, why? The reason for making this particular recommendation, the answer is that the current enrollment is 864. The school's program capacity is 816. And according to the state newspaper, September 6th, the Chapin area is expected to grow rapidly in the next decade. The next question, where will the new wing go? Looking back at the plans for the school, and I've provided each one of you with a large copy of this since it's so very hard to see on the smaller one. But if you go to the first floor, that 3rd wing is shown on the schematics we had for this school, which was not a part of the plan when we bid it for it to be built. You see it much more easily when you go to the 2nd floor. If you'll go to that particular slide, you can see how that works. It's a natural progression built into the facility that's already there. All right, so the next question. What will it cost? Well, of course, we don't know the exact number until we have it officially designed and built, but our preliminary estimate, our projected cost is $5,205,000 is what we think it will cost. Next question, how will we pay for it? We will pay for it through a combination of funds that have been unspent from the Chapin Middle School construction, approximating $2 million, and the fund balance assigned for special purposes for $3,205,000, making it possible for us to fund this particular project. Mr. Richardson, is there anything you wish to say on the topic of how we will fund this, how we propose to fund this particular addition?
Really, the only thing right now with the funding that we have left from the construction of the Chapin Middle School is that $2 million. Is an approximate amount. It can change because there's still some, excuse me, there's still a few things going on, but that's probably pretty close to where we're going to end up once everything's all said and done. The board has set aside $5 million for future capital needs, so we're specifically asking for whatever remains after we know what's left for the Chapin Middle School construction to use that towards building this wing.
All right, and then the final question that I have to answer this evening is this. When can the new wing be completed? The anticipated opening is not later than August 2018. Perhaps with some good luck, it would be open sooner than that, but not later than the beginning of the 2018 school year. So tonight I bring you this recommendation, and it is that the board authorize the superintendent to engage the firm of Quackenbush Architects and Planners, the firm that designed the current facility, to finalize the design of the third wing of Chapin Middle School based upon its earlier work on the facility under prior agreement. This recommendation is a sole source procurement that is made subject to Section 1560.1 of the district's procurement code and South Carolina Regulation Section 19-445.2105 Part B. The Chief Finance and Operations Officer has made a written determination that based upon these circumstances, there is only one source for the required service. So finally, I would say to you tonight, as I said to you 2 weeks ago, I understand, as you know, when I'm asked to describe the district, I say I can describe it in one word, it would be extraordinary. And if I were to use a second word, it would be dynamic, because the district is ever changing, as we saw illustrated by our program yesterday at Seven Oaks Elementary, a school that started with 300, grew to many, many, many more than that, and just a few years ago dropped in size and is now back to being our fourth largest school in the district. Things change, and as we are looking to the future, it's important that we remain an extraordinary district and that we're able to meet our dynamic needs. We don't want to become an ordinary district, or worse yet, a dying district. We want to be extraordinary, and we want to be dynamic. So with that, that's my recommendation. If you would go back to the recommendation slide and leave it on the board. This is my request of you this evening, that you authorize us to engage, we talk with them, to work with them to get an agreement for them to design the third wing at Chapin Middle.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner. With that presentation, do I hear a motion? Ms. Baumgardner.
I move that we authorize the superintendent to engage the firm of Quackenbush Architects and Planners, the firm that designed the current facility to finalize the design of the third wing of Chapin Middle School based upon the earlier work on the facility under prior agreement. The recommendation is a sole source procurement that is made subject to Section 15.6.1 of the district's procurement code and South Carolina Regulation 19-445.2105B. The chief business officer has made a written determination that based upon these circumstances, there is only one source for the required service.
Thank you, Ms. Baumgartner. Is there a second to this motion? Ms. Hutchison, seconds. Now, for discussion, anyone have any questions or discussion? Ms. Hammond?
Yes, I think that I understand it, Mr. Richardson, but the sole source requirement, because I think Dr. Hefner explained it, but I want to explain it for the public. That means because we, on the original, Quackenbush was our original architect. So because of that, that's why we would go ahead and have them without starting all over. Am I correct?
Correct.
So it would benefit us financially.
I do believe it would.
Right, because they would have in the original design, Dr. Hefner, if our conversation was right, it was all drawn up the first time.
They own the plans to this particular building, and it had been drawn in the schematics, not in the detailed
Right.
stages, but
The plan.
It's there, so much work has already been done on their part.
And one more, Mr. Gant, just do them together. I want to be sure I wrote the figures down. Right now, in that school, it's 864. Did I write that down? Right.
I put it on the screen. I think it is 864.
Well, before the time period that we hope it to be finished, will it grow to a point that we would have to have portables, or we can, if we make it in that time?
Well, I think, would we have to? I think that becomes a little bit subjective. They would love to have portables right now. They're
Because of crowd.
doubling up on space, but they have been very cooperative in that regard. And again, it's hard to know exactly, how the numbers will pan out. I think looking ahead to the next year, I think the next class coming up is a little bit smaller than the class moving out. However, given the numbers we're seeing in Chapin, I'd be hesitant to put a specific number on it, but there is no question that the school will be full probably far more quickly than we want it to be, even with the third wing.
And the money, I want to be sure about that. We still have, I wrote, unspent from the bond money was $2 million, and then we would fund the other $3 million with some of the fund balance you set aside.
That's correct. The funding that was used for the middle school now was a little bit of the referendum money, but mostly from capital budget, prior capital budgets.
Okay, so that's not all
So
unspent.
I think the correct way to say that is there's approximately $2 million left from the approved budget for Chapin Middle, and a portion of that came from the referendum, but a portion of it came from other sources as well. Is that
That's correct.
Dr. Hicks, my last question, just to clear it up for the public. We did not go ahead and build this whole amount when we were doing it, because I do know it would be less expensive if we could have built it all at once, and I'd like you to explain why we didn't.
Well, I think, if we knew then what we know now, we might have taken that bolder step. But it's like, when we build something on our own, you don't want to overcommit. And at the time we proposed Chapin Middle, at the time I proposed, I'll own it, the time I proposed Chapin Middle, we weren't sure exactly what our total commitments were going to be, because we had several projects still in progress, including Chapin High School. And our CFO at the time, Dr. Fulmer, was very, very concerned that he didn't want us to be in a position where we committed to build something that costs more money than we had available to us. So we took a very prudent approach, and I think one of the best things that happened to us on the Chapin Middle School project, not only did we get a beautiful product, that I think everybody seems to be very, very happy with. It came in for less money than we had budgeted for the project, which is one of the very few that has happened in that particular direction. So that's why we're able to commit $2 million from that. But again, I want to emphasize our bond referendum money paid for a portion of Chapin Middle School, but it was subsidized by other funds as well.
Okay, anyone else have questions, concern? Mr. Richardson, I did want to ask this question. I noticed that $3.2 million, 3,205, is going to come from a part of our fund balance. And I believe you have explained that before, that we have a designated piece of that fund balance that was set aside for something like this, or I might have the wrong word, specified, but
Basically, back, well, I guess prior to me coming here, actually, I think the board set aside or reserved $5 million for the future middle school. When we knew we had funds sufficient to build it, we just changed the designation for future capital needs, but that's exactly why it's there.
okay. So it would be designated and for a purpose like that. And I guess where I'm going with this question is we've always tried to maintain a fund balance that enables us to borrow at the better rates, get the better interest rates and so forth. Will this have any effect that you see on that future borrowing power, or anything, any negative side you see to that?
Well, no, sir. Our policy talks about the amount that we should have available to us, and it excludes anything that's set aside that's reserved. So the unreserved part will still be okay.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. Anyone else? Question? I think that was the concern I had. We've heard through the years, many people have ideas of how to spend fund balance, and it puts us in a precarious situation. And I think just knowing that we can only carry for a couple of months with the heavy part of our need for fund balance would probably be our personnel. I mean, meeting payrolls a couple of times, and it would be depleted. So this is designated, and I was concerned about that part of it, and that great bond rating going forward. Anyone have anything else? All right, we've had a motion, we've had a second, so I'd ask at this time for a vote. All those in favor of the motion before us, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 15, which is Exhibit C, our annual superintendent's evaluation. So, Dr. Hefner, we'll turn it over to you, and then we'll go through a process. And I have as you're getting set up, I have a statement I'd like to read to the board in public, and Ms. Towers, I'll give you this statement. But this evening, the board will be conducting the performance evaluation of our superintendent, Dr. Steve Hefner. On September 22nd, 2016, Dr. Hefner sent each board member his assessment of the district's performance on the superintendent's 2015-2016 goals. At the beginning of the discussion of Dr. Hefner's evaluation, Dr. Hefner will summarize his report. Following Dr. Hefner's presentation, each board member will be given the opportunity to summarize orally in time frame, preferably not to exceed 3 to 5 minutes. If you need longer, that'll be fine. His or her assessment of Dr. Hefner's performance as superintendent on the 2015-16 goals. Following Dr. Hefner's presentation and the individual input from board members, I will entertain a motion from the board that will express the board's overall assessment of Dr. Hefner's performance, as well as any actions proposed regarding his contract. As required by the contract, after the meeting this evening, I will prepare a draft letter summarizing the evaluation results reached at the meeting this evening for review by each board member before the letter is finalized. I've also asked Dr. Hefner to prepare formal proposed goals for the 2016-17 school year for the board's consideration at our next board meeting on October the 10th, 2016. Board members who would like to suggest goals or an elaboration of the goals of the superintendent prepares are asked to present their recommendations at the October 10th meeting. Additionally, during tonight's evaluation, board members may make recommendations for Dr. Hefner to use as he finalizes his goals for the board approval on October 10th. At this time, I'll ask Dr. Hefner to provide us with his report on the district's progress during the past school year. Dr. Hefner.
Thank you, Mr. Gant, members of the board. First of all, I want you to know what a privilege it is for me to serve as your superintendent. I cannot find the right words to express how happy I am to be in this organization. I continue to be grateful for the opportunity that you have provided me. This is a truly extraordinary organization, as I know you've heard me say time and time again, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. I have presented to you a report on the goals that you gave me almost a year ago, and I want to be very clear that, first of all, I'm very proud of what has been accomplished, but understand that what's been accomplished has not been accomplished by me. This is a reflection of the tremendous staff that we have here in District 5. It's a reflection of everyone's work, not mine. I am very grateful for the work of our principals and our teachers and our support staff members, which is, again, nothing short of phenomenal. I would point out that of the 10 goals you've given me, many of them are what I would call, they're certainly not, they're not goals that are destinations, but they're reflect an ongoing journey, things that we'll need to do this year, next year, the year thereafter. And I feel that we are being successful in that particular journey, and I know that the journey will continue. I am open to receive whatever feedback that you have for me this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone that would like to address any of the goals, or Dr. Hefner, would you like to, I mean, you've given us a summary, we've had them for several days now, but anyone have any questions regarding the goals that we were presenting and the progress that's been made on them? We would certainly allow that discussion now. Ms. Hammond.
I would just like, from my deepest heartfelt thank you as a teacher, and on behalf of a lot of teachers that I have certainly talked with, I think that even though you meet many of the goals, and some you say are always an ongoing journey, I think that my biggest accolade for you is the classroom and the curriculum, and how that first one, sustain and enhance the district's record of excellence in student achievement. And that's the one, they're all great. That's the one that I applaud you most for. That is the number one reason we're here. All these other goals are important because, you know, we have to reach those to get the resources to the classroom. And in ending, Robert, I just really wanted to thank him for that, because I know that, to me, that's where his heart is, and it's where he always shines. And the only one I want to always work on, and it's one that's hard for me to understand, but I thank you for this last one about ensure effective and efficient utilization of our fiscal and physical resources. And because we do know that we need that to be done, but I always feel like we have to be vigilant with projects and procurement, and I thank you for to me, that's the ongoing one you can help me with too. But I just want to tell him publicly, for teachers, principals, I hear it every day. The number one for me is the teaching and learning, and you have certainly enhanced that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond. Mr. White.
I guess I wanted to expand upon that, and also this last objective. I think I was very pleased with the work you did in working with the legislators and the other school districts to try to help them recognize the funding problem we were experiencing, and that is an ongoing effort that I think it needs to be continued every year and expand upon that. I think one of the comments from the gentleman that came to the microphone tonight asking about class size policy, that, as long as I've been here in 14 years, that has been an ingredient of our success by keeping class size low, but that takes funds to do that. And when the legislature basically doesn't give us the latitude to do that, then it threatens the very core of what we do in terms of the educational quality. And I know the gentleman will get the feedback from the district on our class size policy, but it's very specific, and we add based on numbers. And when there's a tipping point, when we break a certain point, another teacher is added, and that takes a lot of funds to do that. And that was threatened this year, as it's been threatened in other years. But I think we've recognized we've sort of hit a limit, what we can do in drawing our own funds down through millage increases, and it really needs to be a continuous effort to educate and basically in numbers, which was what we learned this year with other school districts, to basically lobby the legislature through appealing to them exactly how we need this money for our budgets. And I think you provided the leadership for the other districts to do that. So I really commend you on that, and I think it's the beginning of a process I hope will show many more dividends in the future.
Thank you, Mr. White. Any other comments this time? Mr. Haltwanger, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Well, my comments are on you as an individual. First of all, I'd just like to say, in my 2 years of having known you, I consider you, first of all, an exceptional leader. And one thing that you mentioned a few minutes ago, that you were not taking the credit for the success. And for me, that shows a lot of qualities in a leader that are important. And some of those qualities are character, humility, and not taking the credit for everything that goes well, your integrity, your accountability, and being transparent in things that you do. And then they require a person with a passionate heart, your desire for the students and their excellence. And all that is shown in the success and the things that we see each week, not each week, but every other week when we come to the board meetings, and the success of our students. We just saw 20 exceptional students, national merit finalists. So things like that are exemplary of what I've seen in the last 2 years. And also, there are also a couple qualities that a great leader must have, and I think I've seen those in you as well. And one is relationship building. Great leaders build relationships, and the relationships you build with within the community, and the business partners that have been gained that you listed that you're a part of. And then, I don't care how good a leader you are, there must be some results. And the results are shown in, as I said, in the level of academic excellence that our students are getting here, and the type of education that they're receiving. So my comments, again, as the superintendent, as a leader, is the type of exemplary qualities that you show and have shown, and I've been a witness to the last 2 years. So I applaud you and applaud all the staff and your cabinet for the fine work that you've done and continue to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baumgartner.
Well, I can't add anything more than what Mr. Halterwanger said. Those express my thoughts as well. And throughout the years since we've started this public evaluation, I've always commented on you meeting the goals, which you did, commented on the leadership that you instill and how effective the leadership has been, the level of trust we have in the community with the board and the superintendent, with you and your staff. These are things to be treasured, and these are things that are ongoing. And it's very refreshing. And as I was reflecting last night on you, I said, some of the things, I appreciate so much about you, your involvement in the community, your positive outlook, and your ability to manage people. You see the best in people. You're able to get people to move out of their comfort zone, and can see it sometimes before they see it themselves. And the effective staff is a reflection on you. And and I thought about this. One day, I sent a card to a pastor of mine, and in it, and I think it's also true with you, it says, God must love all the children because he made so many of them, and he still leaves one inside of each one of us. And that child, that little boy in Missouri still shows, and we see that positive outlook, that freshness, you're not becoming complacent. That little boy is still there, eager to learn. And, we're all about the children. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Hutchison.
One thing I will say about Dr. Hefner is that he is very humble, and I do recognize that this is uncomfortable for him to sit here, and I just want to say that I support everything that the other board members have said. I think you have done a great job, really do appreciate it, and thank you for putting up with me and my environmental push, my tree-hugging self. And I would like to ask if I could see one of the goals, it was maybe for the budget, really was to decrease the amount of money that we spend on energy, electric bills and such. And so the plan was to decrease the temperature increase, change it by 1. And I would just be interested in seeing if that had any impact from the previous year to this current year. I think that would be good to know whether or not that was a worthwhile goal. But thank you so much, and please realize my brevity has nothing to do with the way I feel, but I do want to honor you and how humble you are.
Thank you.
Well said. I think every board member, Dr. Hefner, that's here, you know how we feel about you. And I was thinking about our responsibilities as a board. One, we have only a few things we're supposed to be doing, and that is setting policy, handling setting a budget, those type things. But one of the most important things we have to do is hire and evaluate our superintendent. And I appreciate what Ms. Hutchison just said. This has got to be just a little bit awkward to sit here in the audience and do this. So I appreciate you doing that. I was trying to remember today I know you came in 2011. Are we in starting our 7th year with Dr. Steve Hefner?
This is my 7th school year to be here. That first year, of course, I was here for a little over half a year.
Right. And that counts because you were here every day. I know you were. Well, and that to me brings the one thing we needed so severely, and you brought it to us, and that's stability. You have brought stability to this district. We had a long period of that, and we sort of were needing some stability at the top, and you brought that. And I'll agree with my other fellow board members. You started off your comments by giving credit to others, and I've never witnessed you patting yourself overly on the back. Now, we'll pat you on the back, and we just have to do that a little bit. You had a great staff, and you've assembled others in your staff that do a phenomenal job. And you've said this many times, it's not easy to be on top, to stay on top. And I can't even quote the author that you pull that from, but I know that. And we appreciate you continuing to keep School District 5 at the top of education in this state. And I'd rank us anywhere with people in the nation. There's a good education going on in this school district. And just like many of your goals, it's an ongoing process. One of the things and several things I was going to touch on have already been touched, but I would say to you, one of the proud things this year that you were able to deliver to us, and it had a lot to do with the economy getting better. It had a lot to do with some lobbying that you helped us do to help people understand the binds we could get in. But this board, by a 7-0 vote, approved a budget that allowed us to give the first cost of living raise to our employees in a number of years, in addition to the step increases that are required and in our budgets, and a loyalty bonus that's coming out sometime later this year. In addition to that, we've eliminated, and this was your suggestion, to eliminate most of the fees that this district had charged. And I remember early on you saying that was one of the things that would help take this district to another level. So thank you for that leadership. The things that I would think about you that come to mind when I think of Steve Hefner is just your honesty, your ethics, your integrity, and it resonates from you through your entire staff. There are great things that go on in this district, and you're a great model for our employees and our leaders in the district, and we thank you for that. And I would have to tell you that you use the word extraordinary when you describe the school district. I'd use the word extraordinary when I describe Steve Hefner as a superintendent. Not to embarrass you, but I know what I see, and I know what other people see. You're extraordinary. So I will leave it with that, say to you that we're very proud that you're here. We're very pleased with the progress that we hope we're part of helping make with you. I meant to say to our board as we started, you're our day-to-day person. You're the person on the ground. We get to do the fun board meetings and do the budgets and all, but you're the person that handles it, and we appreciate it. It's handled so well. It's just wonderful. It's great to be a part of it with it handled that well. So I will end it with that, just to say you know how we feel about you. We just said it, and you're doing a great job. Your staff does a great job. So with that, anyone else have any further comment at all? Mr. White.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, after hearing the board's comments this evening regarding Dr. Hefner's performance, I'd like to make a motion that we conclude as a board that Dr. Hefner receive a superior evaluation for the 2015-2016 school year. As a result of Dr. Hefner's overall superior evaluation, I move that Dr. Hefner's contract with the district be extended by 1 year or through June 30th, 2020. I further move that we provide him with a 4% increase in his annual annuity, beginning with the 2015-2016 school year evaluation.
Thank you. There's a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Haltermonger seconds. Now, is there any discussion on the board? See, Ms. Hammond.
I totally agree that you've done an outstanding job, and I have no problem that he deserves a raise, so I would agree with that. But I feel very strongly, and I've thought about it a lot, that the 2% raise that all the teachers and employees got, I feel like that might be more in line to be equitable, that everybody got the same thing. Not that they don't deserve more, but that's just a thought I had, Mr. White. It's not, I'm for the raise, but I thought maybe it'd be the same that everybody in the district got, the 2%.
Thank you. And I'll just add a little to the discussion, and I'm going to be perfectly forthright here. Dr. Hefner was approached by the board to make sure that we're treating him right. I think in that 7 years that you mentioned, when you got your permanent contract, probably that's only a 6th year, but 6 years there's been absolutely no change to your contract. That we've enacted pieces that were in it, but there's never been a cost of living raise. There's no change to your base salary. So I think, Ms. Hammond, in answer to your question, the 4% to me is is actually a low percentage, I think, to give. But to me, we have a number of employees, both teacher and support staff, that get an annual step increase. This year, were able to give a 2% cost of living increase. And looking at our history, we've not increased our superintendent's salary at all. His contract is the same today as it was 6 years ago we enacted. So I personally feel that the 4% would be very justified. And I appreciate your comments, though. But that's sort of how it got to that point. Any other
Is
comment?
she making a motion, or?
No,
The comment.
Okay.
she doesn't comment.
Okay.
Any other comment? Ms. Hutchison.
I'm just going to add that in any business where you have a CEO, one who really takes the company or the business forward, there's always reward for the CEO. likewise, if they don't do a very good job, then they don't get the reward and they often lose their job. So I think that we have not really shown our appreciation for the great job that Dr. Hefner does leading this school district, which is truly a big business. And so, you know, it's about the same as he is a CEO of this district. This is very minimal, and I think that he's very deserving, and I suspect most of the staff would understand that. And I agree that he is not eligible for the step increases, but we certainly do need to show our appreciation by this small gesture.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Any other comments? Appreciate all the comments. Well, if I'm seeing no other comments, all those in favor of Mr. White's motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And that passes 5-1 with one person absent. Of course, you have that. And congratulations, Dr. Hefner, on another wonderful evaluation, another great year in School District 5.
Thank you very much for your comments this evening. I am very humbled by what you've said and pledge to you that I will work to the greatest extent possible to continue to be worthy of the confidence you've expressed in me. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that brings us to item number 6.